What is up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm Jacob Turner, here hopping on a quick solo podcast to talk about the news surrounding North Carolina quarterback Max Johnson, who was hurt in the third quarter of North Carolina's 19-17 win over Minnesota on Thursday night in Minneapolis. I'm sure if you're watching this by now, you've seen the news or read the statement surrounding Max Johnson, the injury picked up, which was sent out and made public. I'm recording this around 6 o'clock, a couple hours ago now. I think it came out a little after 4 p.m. But I'm going to go ahead and just read the statement real quick, and we'll discuss what it means. And look a little bit ahead, because it is an unfortunate one and just unfortunate news for Max Johnson all the way around, who's dealt with injuries over the past couple seasons, really. And it's just unfortunate all the way around. But I'll read the statement right here. Update on UNC QB Max Johnson. This was again released by the program earlier. UNC QB Max Johnson underwent successful surgery in Minneapolis to repair a broken right leg on Friday. Johnson, who is accompanied by his parents in Minnesota, will return to Chapel Hill in a few days and is expected to make a full recovery. He will miss the remainder of the 2024 season. And it really says it all right there. It's unfortunate all the way around. You hate it for Max Johnson. I mentioned it earlier, but a guy who injuries have just plagued his college career over the last couple of seasons. Unfortunate injuries too. I mean, we talked about it. Me and AJ talked about it. I think on the football show we did, I guess it was last week now, because we ended up recording it last Sunday because of the Thursday night game. But, a guy that tried to play through injuries, broke some ribs, tried to play through it and ended up breaking more ribs and missing the rest of the season. Broke his hand as well. He's just a guy that has dealt with injuries before. And I think the most unfortunate part and what you really feel for him is, gets hurt doesn't even make it through three quarters in the season opener. A lot of, the starting guy was the guy taking all the snaps before he got hurt yesterday against Minnesota, and 12 for 19, 71 yards, obviously had that rushing touchdown to open the scoring for North Carolina. And then, unfortunately through the interception as well. But again, I don't want to really sit here and analyze his performance. I don't want to sit here and analyze anything like that. I think there was plenty of that on Twitter and on the message boards yesterday, and rightly so, with it being, the first glimpse we've seen of Max Johnson. But again, I don't think that's appropriate, and I don't think that's necessary here because of the news that has broke with him missing the rest of the season. You just absolutely hate it for him. You really do. And I think that's the main takeaway here is put all the stats aside and your opinions on maybe what kind of quarterback he could have been this season for North Carolina, or your opinions on what you saw against Minnesota in those, almost three quarters from Max Johnson. I don't want to talk about that. It's just unfortunate all the way around that he's not going to be able to play for the rest of the season. And again, especially when you look at his injury history and the way it happened too, because you saw it during the play, and you can sit here and say a guy's injury prone and to throw, criticisms like that. I'm not here to do that, because the way he had that hurt in that game has nothing to do with that. It was just an absolutely unfortunate situation. One of those tackles that, 9 times out of 10 probably doesn't result in an injury, much less a season-ending injury. It was just one of those things. And I remember when I saw the replay live on TV, I was like, oh, that does not look good. I originally thought it was his knee. And then I know there were some quotes that came out after the game last night from Mac Brown saying that he thought it was a hip injury. And then obviously it comes out being that he broke his right leg. So just an all-around unfortunate situation. I don't really think there's anything else you can really say about it besides that. So let's talk about what this means, because I do think we need to hit on that here and kind of discuss that part of it in this, because we saw Connor Harrell come in after Max Johnson went out injured yesterday, and 2 for 4, 34 yards passing, only 4 attempts. So not a lot of attempts there. Carolina really rode Omarion Hampton because of how, obviously how good he is. And because the run game was there, he rushed for 129 yards on 30 carries. Didn't score in the game, but he was a primary reason Carolina was able to get down the field and get those field goals that they needed, especially one that Noah Burnett hit late to give Carolina the lead. And, Minnesota ends up missing a field goal late on that would have won it. But you have to give credit to Connor Harrell and the offense for at least being able to get those when he came in. So, it's the Connor Harrell show now. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. There was a lot of, me and AJ have talked about it a lot, but there was a lot of talk and a lot of hoping from Carolina fans and kind of willing on in the preseason about Connor Harrell should be the guy. Connor Harrell, I want Carolina to be the guy. Max Johnson shouldn't start. Connor Harrell should be the starter. When there was no evidence to suggest that Harrell was ready to be the starter, and there was more evidence to suggest when you look at Johnson's experience and what he'd done at the college level, that okay, it makes sense that this guy's at least going to be given the keys to start out. Obviously, he's out for the year now, and it's the Connor Harrell show, and it's going to be his job to lose at this point. I mean, Jacoby Criswell behind him. We talked about in the offseason all the time how it was never a 3-horse race. It was always between Johnson and Harrell. Mack Brown in his press conference before the Minnesota game talking about how they were planning on rotating quarterbacks. We didn't really get to see that. Maybe we would have seen it a little bit more if Johnson, would have made it through the game, and maybe would have seen it over the next few games, more packages for Connor Harrell. But again, none of that matters now because Johnson's out for the year. So yeah, I think a lot of people left last night's game worried about the offense, and I completely understand that. I'm in the same boat there. I didn't really see enough from Max Johnson when he was in to really feel comfortable about the position. And same thing with Harrell when he came in. I didn't really see enough from him in his cameo to really sit here and be like, yeah, I think Carolina's going to be fine at quarterback. I think that's a major question mark going into the rest of the year. And I think it's even more unfortunate now, obviously, with Johnson being out, but it's more unfortunate because, okay, you couldn't even make it through a game, and now you're down a quarterback, and not much less you're down the guy that was given the keys to start it out and who the coaching staff obviously had the most confidence in to go out there and lead this program. So yeah, it remains to be seen. I think the good news for North Carolina is the stretch that's coming up, because I do think you have very winnable games, 3 in a row at home against Charlotte, Central, and James Madison. So you've got some get-right games. Again, Carolina will have to play well in those games to win them. We saw what happened last night with NC State against Western Carolina. If you don't show up and you're not ready to play, you can get beat by just about anybody. So by no means are these gimme games going up. But I think when you look at it objectively and you say, okay, you got the win over Minnesota, very legitimate chance to start 4-0 now with those 3 straight games at home coming up. Not a bad situation to be trying to bet a quarterback in. And not only that, but try to get some rhythm for an offense that just is so new now, especially in the trenches with so many new faces down there. And I do think they struggled a little bit. We'll talk about that more in the football show coming up later this week ahead of the Charlotte game. But you've also got a quarterback back there now that it needs to just get comfortable in the position, get comfortable being the starter and the guy that's going to be taking the reps now, and just get comfortable being the guy with the keys, because he is now. There is no rotation that's going to go on now. Again, there's no reason to believe that Criswell's going to be thrown into the mix. If Harrell does struggle, maybe that becomes an option. I know that would probably be worst case scenario for North Carolina, because if Criswell is giving an opportunity, it's because Harrell has not been able to take advantage of being the starter. So yeah, it's just a fluid situation now, and we'll have to see how Connor Harrell does. But I think there's reasons to be optimistic about the talent he has and the potential he may have. Maybe now that he's the starter, his performances go up because there is that security a little bit around his job of, okay, I don't really have to be, Max Johnson was the guy. I was supposed to be rotating with him. He's out now, and now it's my time to step up and take over. What is I think the saying goes, pressure makes diamonds. Maybe the fact now that there will be a little bit more pressure on Connor Harrell to be the guy. Maybe he steps up in that situation, and maybe, he takes the keys and he runs with it, and, he never looks back, and he ends up being a really good quarterback for North Carolina. It remains to be seen. I don't think you can look at anything you saw against Minnesota and feel confident in that. I just don't, but we'll see what happens over these next few weeks, and we'll see what happens going into the remainder of the season, because he definitely has the opportunity now and is the guy. So yeah, again, just to reiterate, Max Johnson out for the season, underwent surgery on Friday on a broken right leg. So just an incredibly unfortunate situation all the way around for him. I think I probably said unfortunate 15 times in this video already. So I'm gonna get off here in a second, stop repeating myself. But we want to hear from you guys. Head on over to TarHeelIllustrated.com. If you are a member, if you're not, you can sign up over there right now. Links in the description below, just $8.33 a month. We had an awesome promo recently too. So if you missed that, unfortunate, but again, you can still sign up. It's less than a drive-through meal, as AJ always likes to say. So also you can get involved on Twitter at Heel Illustrated and reach out to me. Let me know what you think. I'll retweet this, and I'm sure I'll tweet this video out. So it'll be it's at Jacob Turner THI. We want to hear from you guys. I know we have our comments turned off on YouTube, so you can't do that easily, but yeah, let's do this. Like the video below. If you think Connor Harrell has the potential to take over and be the guy for North Carolina, and will do a good job as the guy for North Carolina now that he's the, going to be the starting quarterback moving forward. So we want to hear from you guys as always. Plenty of ways to get involved that I just discussed, and all those links that are in the description below for socials as well. You can also get involved on Facebook too. And like I mentioned earlier, our premium message boards, which you'll have access to if you're a premium subscriber at TarHeelIllustrated.com. Hate we had to hop on a podcast and talk this, but again, it is what it is, and it's the reality and the situation that Carolina is in now. But want to just say this before we head out: thoughts and prayers of Mac Johnson, and hope he makes a speedy and full recovery. I've been Jacob Turner for TarHeelIllustrated.com. We appreciate you guys watching as always, and we'll see y'all next time. Thanks.